But okay, I feel like fanboying is a good transition for this next topic, and this is one that hits closer, hits close for me. I don't know about you, but it's
I
the
mean, I'm
whole.
just a white dude, so you know.
No, I mean, you can have an opinion on this, but what I'm talking
No,
about,
I know. I'm just saying, it would
mm,
affect me differently.
yeah,
The two of us would be on different sides of the spectrum when it comes to this topic.
yeah, and I'm glad, and I'm actually kind of glad on this one because, all right, to to pretty much put it out there, this next topic we're going to discuss is the supposed SJW agenda in comic books. Okay, before I go on what is ultimately going to be a tangent or a fucking rant, where do you stand? Just so people like, what are your personal thoughts so people understand where you're coming from?
My stance is fairly basic. I'm okay with the SJW agenda, if that's what you want to call it, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any problem because I realized this a long time ago. It's in the Nerd podcast. Shout out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But people like representation. There's nothing wrong with that. I like if I were to try to break it down to a psychological thing, most of my favorite heroes are like normal white guys, or they kind of they portray themselves as being everyday white guys.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with that. So I don't have a problem with like making uh uh fuck, what am I trying to say? Like minority representation characters and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me at all. My only problem is if in like the 70s and 80s anymore,
Mm-hmm.
only make a character. And we talked about this about the new Power Man or the I don't
Yeah,
remember the kid's name.
yeah, I don't remember either, but yeah, the new Power Man.
One only has that agenda and doesn't have character to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's kind of cringy to me, and that's why I like Kamala Khan is
Mm-hmm.
because even though she clearly has like a an agenda, if that's what you want to call it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
because she's kind of teaching you a whole bunch of lessons and whatnot. She's still a unique character, and she's a nice character.
Right.
The problem with Riri Williams is because she was supposed to represent like she was a young black girl from Chicago, and like most of the people she knew had been murdered, and she was kind of a sociopath, but she was a genius, and people are just like, she doesn't have a character to
Mm-hmm.
her, and she's kind of like everyone's little sister now.
Yeah, like my I tried to read her initial comic books.
It was
Uh,
bad.
I
I
couldn't,
admit.
but I saw her after she entered the Champions, and I actually start to like her character.
Yeah,
I'm
her new Ironheart stuff is she's like I said, she's like everyone's little sister.
yeah, but was there anything else you wanted to say before
Nah, that's about it. Basically, if you're gonna make a SJW character nowadays, just give him a little bit of character. Is all I ask for.
I? Okay.
The 70s where you have to be like, I'm Power Man, you know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
or the Black Panther, like really on the nose
Yeah.
things.
Well, to be fair, when they created Black Panther, they claimed that they actually had no idea of who the actual Black Panthers were. Like that was just a
Sure.
hey. Truth be told, this is shit from the 70s/80s, and white people
Okay,
were
I
not.
guess. There's no internet. You couldn't just be like, what's
Yeah,
a
and,
Black Panther and just look it up.
yeah, and back then, white people really weren't hearing what black people were going through.
I'd
Whether
like to think Stan Lee had his ear to the ground though.
Stanley might have been an SJW in his own right, but at the end of the day, judging you're judging him off of today's standards versus back then, where their version of SJW was, oh no, I like black people. I think they're cool.
Yeah.
Like that could have been the long and short of where he came from. Because even when you point out the fact that the X-Men's were an allegory to Malcolm X and fucking Martin Luther King or the Civil Rights Movement, the majority of the characters were white.
Yeah. I
So
mean, those just hit different. Like, I was reading recently, it was a comic book, it was a whole arc in 94 where Superman was beating the shit out of some KKK members.
mhm. Yeah.
And I was just like, I imagine this hits different than Black Panther killing KKK.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been
Because
old.
Zeus was just running around beating them up, and he was like, "Hey, y'all should be nicer to people."
Yeah, Black Panther. If fucking T'Challa was caught killing fucking KKK in the comic books, they would have said this is a white hatred fucking comic. But
No, he did that though. He did kill. He used to kill KKK members.
oh yeah, he did. But I'm talking about if like today's fucking comics showed that shit, that would
Yeah.
have been
Well, that was
translated to.
people's that, and people didn't like that Superman arc because it was blood sport. It was like a new blood sport, and he was just like so blatantly racist, and everyone hated it because they were like, "This guy's lame. All he does is hate black people,"
All he does is hate black.
and and they're like, "Well, yeah, he's supposed to be like a stereotypical hateful racist person." People are like, "I don't like it."
Yeah, but, but okay. Here's where I get on my fucking soapbox. Anybody, and I'm gonna say this plain as possible. Anybody who is crying out SJW in comic books are part of the problem. And this is why I say it. You complain that characters are being shoved in your faces for PC propaganda or because they're trying to peddle token characters. But you also claim that you somehow are okay with minority characters being put into comic books. They just have to be quote unquote good. I'm not talking about you, Zach, because I I know you personally, so I know you're not the type of person I'm about to describe. But
I mean, there's people out there that like just the notion of like a character that stands for something else other
mhm,
than just being like, oh, I'm just a good person.
right,
Like those Captain Marvel haters out there.
yeah. Um, but what I'm gonna say is this: the reason you're part of the reason people who cry out SJW shit in comics are what the reason why I feel they are the problem is because if you if you're viewing every new minority character, be they gay, black, Hispanic, paraplegic, or disabled in some type of way, has some type of mental health issue, and you're crying out, "Oh, this is just some fucking propaganda shit," you're part of the problem because if these type of characters were around from the jump, we would not have this argument right now. And I've said it before. The reason why the push for diversity is needed is because it was not there. Black Panther in Marvel alone was one of few black characters. Luke Cage, you go back to his fucking comic books, he was talking, "Hey, what's up, you jive turkeys?" And that was pretty much how he talked even in the modern day for a minute. Like it's just like
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people been getting exposed recently is like, especially for sexism, is because personally I feel like okay, so okay, I see the most complaints nowadays about SJW agenda, quote unquote,
mhm,
from black and white men because largely for the last how many years you want to say, comics have been targeted and the people who've had the most representation are white and black men, right?
mhm,
There has been a bigger push for a lot of women or a lot of minority women. I know there's been a lot of like Muslim people, Hispanic people, all that other stuff, and I think that's gay people too. I think there's even a couple transgender heroes out there, and
yep,
that's where I think people are getting their blowback from. Is I'm like, look, in 10 years, you're just gonna look at these people like they've always been there, they're ingrained, like they belong here. The problem is just right now, it's just a change, and comic book fans hate change.
facts. And that is one of the biggest issues with the comic book community as a whole, and not just a specific sect of them. Motherfuckers just do not like change because okay, the one example I like to use a lot is Jason Todd. When he was in after Dick Grayson moved on from Robin to Nightwing, DC decided, hey, we want to bring back the dynamic duo aspect and bring in another Robin for Batman. So introduce Jason Todd. Fans hated Jason Todd as Robin. And it got so bad to a point that DC actually held a poll where they allowed the fans to vote the ultimate fate of Jason Todd when Joker captured him and started torturing him. It was the choice of Jason Todd lives, Batman saves him, or Jason Todd dies, Joker kills him. Guess what everybody chose?
Yeah.
It was fucking overwhelming how many people voted for Jason Todd to die. And
Mm-hmm.
then you just had Batman being solo for a bit. And then of course Tim Drake came into the picture at some point. I don't even remember when. Like honestly, when the fuck did Tim Drake come into the picture? Because
I
it felt like
couldn't
he,
actually tell you, to be honest.
yeah, it kind of just felt like he slid in at a random ass point. But anyway, fast forward a few years, and we get Jason Todd, the Red Hood. Now, ask ask even the most casual comic book or DC aware fan, and you ask them, "How do you like Jason Todd?" They're like, "Oh fuck yeah, I love Red Hood." So the problem really isn't that Jason Todd was a bad character per se. It's that you just didn't know about him long enough. Like, okay, was Jason Todd a bad character? I couldn't tell you. I didn't read those comics from that era. But it's it's so fucking crazy to me that fans were so venomously mad that this character existed because they didn't want no other Robin other than Dick Grayson. That they actually told DC, no, we want this motherfucker dead. DC
I mean,
decided, what's up?
yeah, you keep going.
I don't know. But then let's even go away from DC and go to Marvel. You know how many people were fucking mad that Miles Morales became a thing? Like for real. Do you know how mad people were? Let, just to give people a frame of
No, I
reference.
mean, I wasn't on it back then. I
Yeah.
mean, personally, I don't know. I was like Miles.
Yeah, but let me give you a frame of reference. Okay, so DC, I mean DC, Marvel came up with the Ultimate Universe. Pretty much the Ultimate Universe's purpose for Marvel was to give their writers a chance to essentially flex a little bit and write a more linear storyline versus the mainstay 616 universe, which had stories out the fucking wazoo that went every which way you could find. It was a more realistic, grounded story of all the characters that we knew from the mainline universe. Then it came to a point where the Spider-Man line, which started the fucking Ultimate Universe, where they decided, okay, we're gonna kill off Peter. You have the whole entire Death of Spider-Man storyline. That's a done deal. Now they introduce fucking Miles Morales, and people lost their fucking minds. They went as far as saying they just turned Peter Parker into a black guy. First off, that is factually incorrect because Peter is dead. This character is completely different. He's not even a fucking clone of Peter Parker.
Oh,
And
I do remember that. I was kind of triggered just because I remember when that came out, people were saying like, "Bro, they just made Peter Parker into a black guy." You know, I wasn't into comics and everything like that, and I was
mhm.
just like, "Why not just make a black Spider-Man?"
Right, and that's and that's and if you were on the internet when that first around, that was the fucking narrative everybody pushed. Oh, they just turned Spider-Man black. They didn't actually give you the context of no, the original Spider-Man from that offshoot universe, not even the quote unquote canon universe, died, and so somebody else took up the mantle of Spider-Man. Now you fast forward to 2018, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse comes out, and now you got this fucking new wave of people saying, "Oh no, I love fucking Miles Morales now. He's such a great character." You look on YouTube, you see people fucking make videos of how they made Miles Morales a good character now. Like y'all need to get the fuck out of here, because Miles Morales was good from jump. They made that Brian Michael Bendis put his put his foot into making Miles Morales a decent character. People didn't appreciate that because all they saw was his color, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't know. And people are saying, "Well, he's better now." He seems the same to me. Miles seems like he's always been the same to me.
He is. It's the
It's
fuck.
hard for me to explain, but he just feels like a real person.
Yeah, because he has substance. Yes, he's a half black, half Latino character. Yes, he has dealt with fucking
I'm
issues.
saying I feel like I've met Miles before. Like I've met people like him, if that makes sense. Like he's a real person to me. Like he, believably, if I met him, like there's people where you like, dude, if you met Batman, you'd be like,
This motherfucker is not real.
man, guy, what's wrong? What's with this guy, right? Like you can say it for a lot of DC heroes, is that they don't always, they don't feel like real people. I mean, you can say it for a lot of heroes, and I guess that's the allure of Peter Parker, because he's like that too. But I'm saying with Miles, I feel like they didn't miss a step at all. He's perfect for a Spider-Man because he feels like a real person.
Yeah, and there was a criticism back in the day where they said, "Oh, Miles is just a carbon copy of Peter." That's true to an extent, but what Marvel has always adhered to when it came to Spider-Man is there is a core aspect that makes a character a spider hero. They damn near all have. If you look at fucking Spider Verse, Spider Geddon, you see all these multiple versions of different Spider Men, you will realize that they all have something similar to each other that made them into fucking heroes. It's a core concept. It's meant to be that way. But that's the thing for me. It's just like you are judging you are writing off this character before you give them time. Comic books do not come out like manga do. They do not come out like TV shows do. You're lucky. Sometimes a single issue comes out on a monthly basis. Sometimes you get a little lucky and you get a bi monthly basis. It's just y'all people are so quick to judge a diverse character that you don't even know. I know I'm rambling here because I wish I should have fucking wrote down my thoughts. It's just okay.